Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. Weak global cues weigh on the Lal Street. The Sensex and the Nifty lose nearly 1%. IT and FMCG stocks decline the most. Market regulator SEBI may consider granting Tuesday as the weekly index expiry day for NSE. Sources say regulations could be announced soon. Analysts believe the move could be a negative for rival BSE, which could see at least a 20% decline in options volume. Shares of IndusInd Bank gain on hopes that the worst could be over after it reports a 2,300 crore rupee loss in Q4. Analysts remain wary as the bank suspects internal fraud and continues to hunt for a new CEO. Bajaj Auto moves to take a controlling stake in Austrian superbike maker KTM, plans to infuse 800 million euros to support KTM's ongoing restructuring efforts and continue operations amidst financial distress. The Enforcement Directorate is crossing all limits and violating the federal structure, says the Chief Justice of India, over the ED's case against Tamil Nadu government-run liquor retailer Tasmac. The Supreme Court stays the ED's probe and questions why the agency filed the case when the state police is already investigating the matter. US President Donald Trump takes credit for brokering the India-Pakistan ceasefire yet again, tells South African president that he thinks he settled it through trade. Foreign Minister Jaishankar tells a Dutch news portal that ceasefire was negotiated directly between India and Pakistan. Adds New Delhi told everyone, including the US, that India needs to hear it from Pakistan if they want to stop the firing. 2 Israeli embassy staff shot dead near a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C. by a man who shouted "Free Palestine." The suspect is in custody. FBI calls it an act of targeted violence. Google-backed consumer tech company Glance launches a new shopping app powered by artificial intelligence. Glance AI aims to replace search-based shopping by providing personalized options to its users. The man who designed the iPhone, John Ive, and his company will take over creative and design control at OpenAI. Sam Altman's company acquires Ive's company for $6.5 billion to work on a new generation of hardware devices and other AI products. Well, let's go straight to the day's market action. Weak global cues weighing on our markets. The Sensex and the Nifty down 1% each. Broader markets relatively outperformed today. 41 of the 50 Nifty stocks closing in the red. FMCG and IT were the worst hit. 200-point cut there on the Nifty. The Sensex dropped about 640 points, 133 points lower on the Nifty Bank, and the mid-caps lost by about 294 points. That's the market action for you. But staying with the markets, here's the big CNBC-TV18 exclusive story this evening. The National Stock Exchange is likely to have requested SEBI, the market regulator, to make Tuesdays the weekly expiry day for derivative contracts. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 the regulator may approve this request. Currently, NSE contracts expire on Thursday, while contracts on the Bombay Stock Exchange, that's the BSE, expire on Tuesday. Yash is here now to explain more about this development. Yash, what can we expect and what will this mean both for the NSE as well as the BSE?
Well, Shireen, as you rightly pointed out, first of all, what we've been given to understand from our sources is that SEBI's final regulations when it comes to, making those 2 days, that is Tuesday and Thursday of every week as weekly expiry for 2 exchanges, those regulations could come very, very soon. Very soon could be tomorrow, that is Friday, or the outer limit would be next week as far as these regulations are concerned. Apart from that, we've been also given to understand from our sources that India's largest stock exchange, the National Stock Exchange, has written to SEBI with a request, with an application seeking Tuesday as its day of expiry for its weekly contract. In a situation where SEBI grants NSE its request, that is giving them Tuesday as their expiry date, naturally, the Bombay Stock Exchange will have Thursday as its expiry day. In that case, what we pick up from analysts is that it could be a negative for BSE because if the expiry day falls at the start of the week itself, of course, a lot of volume could be driven on that day. And in terms of numbers, according to sources, it could, lead to a migration of as much as 20% of weekly options volume from BSE, and majority of them could go to NSE. Not just that, it could help NSE gain market share in, options contracts by as much as 5%. Also, what we've been given to understand is that market regulator SEBI is actively considering the National Stock Exchange's request to grant them Tuesday as their weekly expiry day. But of course, the final call rests with market regulator SEBI, but the overall structure of the regulations, that is expected as early as, outer limit being the next week itself.
We will just be, right now, whatever is a framework, it's there, and we will be issuing post the consultation paper, the comments we have analyzed, that committees have met, and soon we will be issuing further clarification on that.
So that will take a month to
No, I think within this month.
So will it be a
They'll shift to Tuesday.
No, those days are fixed now, those 2 days.
Question from you is that there is a lot of talk today about the expiry day circular from SEBI. What is NSE's take on it? Is there a day that you have decided?
No, we have not been aware on, we are getting it from you, but whatever the decisions of SEBI, we will have to go by.
Well, that's NSE's Ashish Chauhan there. And SEBI Chief Tuin Kantapande also promised to move forward with the NSE IPO application, but he stopped short of giving a timeline. NSE CEO Ashish Chauhan also spoke about the proposed IPO, calling it a work in progress.
NSE IPO, I think all I can say is that if all the outstanding issues will be resolved and we will move forward.
So by when? Is there any timeline on it?
Can't give you the timeline, but I think we should soon be doing it.
So have you received any assurances from the NSE side on some of the outstanding
NSE and SEBI, they are talking, and I think they are resolving the issues, and I'm very hopeful that it will be cleared and we'll move forward.
So what about the IPO? Where has that point reached?
Again, we are awaiting our no objection certificate. We have applied to the regulator, and as and when that comes, we can do the further process of preparing the DRHP and later on filing it with the regulator again and things like that. So it's a still work in progress.
Well, some progress there on the much-anticipated NSE IPO. Bitcoin prices, meanwhile, hitting a record high, crossing $110,000 in intraday trade. Prices have rallied 5% just this week and 27% in the last 1 month. Bitcoin was languishing on account of tariff-related uncertainty, but the rallies resumed after US and China struck a 90-day trade deal. Bitcoin prices have rallied 63% in the last 1 year. When asked about the possibility of regulations, SEBI Chief Tuin Kantapande said the government is yet to take a policy decision on cryptocurrencies. Remember, the RBI has made it very clear they do not want cryptocurrencies as an asset class. The government has allowed it and, of course, imposed a tax on any cryptocurrency-related transactions.
The policy call is to be taken by the government. Crypto as such is not a security at the moment under the SEBI's remit.
Now, Walmart-owned fintech firm PhonePe will stay away from cryptocurrencies, at least for now. Speaking to CNBC-TV18, the chief technology officer of PhonePe said it would be socially wrong for the company to offer cryptocurrencies on its platform. Here's explaining why.
We believe that the way crypto has been positioned and interpreted by a large set of the population as being an investment vehicle, many times marketed as safe enough to actually put in and grow your money, putting something like that out on PhonePe at the scale that we've operated at would be just socially wrong, right? And that's why we've never actually taken a view that we would never put crypto out on PhonePe. Irrespective of whether the regulator...
just straight up Ponzi schemes. I mean, you just don't want to touch that.
Even if the regulator said it was okay, the way it's been positioned, like I've been on a cab driver, I was talking to the driver and he was saying that he's moved his money from the chit fund into crypto, where chit fund is actually...
This only happens in Bangalore, right? Chit funds to crypto in a cab drive.
But he thinks it's safe enough to actually move into crypto because he's seen that suddenly there's been a run-up on that, and we'd not do that irrespective of whether we'd be able to make a lot of money distributing crypto or even creating our own cryptocurrency.
Well, the debate on cryptocurrencies continues. Meanwhile, Bitcoin at a new record high. Oil prices eased as unexpected pile-up in U.S. inventories raised demand concerns. Reports that OPEC Plus is in talks to increase production in July also weighed on sentiment. Meanwhile, gold prices close to two-week highs amidst concerns over the U.S. government's growing debt and soft demand for U.S. 20-year Treasury bonds, which drove safe haven demand. India's private sector gained strong momentum in May, largely boosted by a sharp rise in services activity. As per the HSBC Flash PMI data, India's composite PMI hit a 13-month high, coming in at 61.2 compared to 59.7 in April. The uptick was also driven by strong demand from both domestic and international markets. Shares of IndusInd Bank ended in the green today on the hopes that the worst could be behind the company. It reported a 2,300 crore rupee loss in Q4. Analysts, however, continue to be wary as the bank suspects internal fraud and also continues to hunt for a new CEO. Now, the RBI has asked the bank to submit probable CEO candidates by the end of next month. The Hinduja Group, which is the largest shareholder in IndusInd Bank, has once again promised to infuse more capital if the need arises. Bajaj Auto will acquire majority control of Austrian motorcycle manufacturer KTM through its subsidiary Bajaj International Holdings. The subsidiary has arranged a debt funding package of 800 million euros. This will be used to support KTM's business revival and debt restructuring. Bajaj Auto has said that 200 million euros has already been infused into the company so far. Remember, Bajaj Auto was initially a dormant minority investor in KTM, now picks up a controlling stake. Turkish firm Chelbi Aviation's Mumbai subsidiary has approached the Bombay High Court. The firm is challenging the revocation of its security clearance and is seeking annulment of that decision. Chelbi has also filed an arbitration application against the Mumbai International Airport. The company's contested what it calls unilateral termination of its contract for ground handling operations. So remember, the matter being heard in the Delhi High Court and now Chelbi moving the Mumbai High Court as well. The Supreme Court has pulled up the Enforcement Directorate for its probe into Tamil Nadu government's liquor retailer. Chief Justice B.R. Gavai said that the probe agency, and I quote, is crossing all limits and violating the federal structure, end of quote. The Apex Court has stayed the ED's probe as of now. Ashmit joins us now with the details. Ashmit, strong words there from the Supreme Court about the manner and conduct of the Enforcement Directorate's actions. Take us through what transpired and what this now means as far as the ED is concerned.
Well, the Supreme Court fuming at the Enforcement Directorate, saying that it's crossed all limits. All of this with respect to the ED investigation into the TASMAC liquor stores, the liquor corporation in the state of Tamil Nadu. Now, what's important is that the ED claims it's probing a 1,000 crore rupee scam in the state of Tamil Nadu with respect to liquor retailing. The Tamil Nadu government, however, approached the Apex Court where they clarified that 41 FIRs have already been filed in this case between the years of 2014 and 2021, that the ED conducted raids despite those FIRs, that the ED confiscated phones of TASMAC officials and then subsequently went ahead to breach privacy norms by cloning those devices. Now, all of this inspired strong words from a bench headed by no less than the Chief Justice of India, Justice Gavai, observing that the ED has crossed all limits, that the action of going ahead with these raids that took place in the month of March, despite the fact that there are FIRs already in place, is a blatant breach of the federal structure of our constitution, the center-state relationship that we have. And on the back of that, the Supreme Court not mincing words, saying that it will not allow for this investigation to move forward. For now, a stay being granted on the ED investigation into the TASMAC case. Furthermore, a notice has been issued to ED where the ED has been asked to explain its conduct of going ahead with these seizures, with these raids, despite the state police already having filed FIRs. So some tough questions for the ED to answer. This case will be heard once again in the month of July.
Ashwin, many thanks. Now, US President Donald Trump, yet again, taking credit for brokering the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. Trump's remarks came during a press conference, this time with the South African president in the Oval Office. Trump said that he settled the issue through trade. The United States president has over the last 2 weeks on multiple occasions claimed that his administration engaged in high-level trade discussions with both India and Pakistan and indirectly facilitated a reduction in hostilities at the border. However, Foreign Minister S. Jaishankar told a Dutch news portal that the ceasefire was negotiated directly between India and Pakistan, further adding that it was the Pakistan army that sent a message that they were ready to stop the firing, and India responded accordingly.
If you take a look at what we just did with Pakistan and India, we settled that whole thing, and I think I settled it through trade. We're doing a big deal with India, we're doing a big deal with Pakistan, and I said, what are you guys doing? You know, somebody had to be the last one to shoot. But the shooting was getting worse and worse, bigger and bigger, deeper and deeper into the countries. Pakistan has got some excellent people and some really good, a great leader. And India is my friend, Modi. And he's a mutual friend. Yeah, he's a great guy. And I called them both, and we just did something good.
Yes, you know, we have a mechanism to talk to each other as a hotline. Yeah. So on the 10th of May, it was the Pakistani army which sent a message that they were ready to stop firing, and we responded accordingly.
And where was the U.S. in this process?
Well, the U.S. was in the United States. I mean, obviously there were U.S. Secretary of State Rubio and Vice President Vance had called up. Rubio had spoken to me. Vance had spoken to our Prime Minister. They had their view, and they were talking to us, and they were talking to Pakistanis, as indeed were some other countries.
Yeah.
I mean, the United States was not alone in this. I think there were some countries in the Gulf. There were some others as well. That happens naturally. When two countries are engaged in a conflict, it is natural that countries in the world call up and ask and try to sort of indicate their concern and what they can do in such a situation. But the ceasefire, the cessation of firing and military action was something which was negotiated directly between India and Pakistan. We made one thing very clear to everybody who spoke to us, not just United States, but to everybody, saying, look, if the Pakistanis want to stop firing, they need to tell us. We need to hear it from them. Their general has to call up our general and say this. And that is what happened.
Well, that's the Foreign Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar. And speaking of the India-Pakistan conflict, John Bolton, who served as the U.S. National Security Advisor for 18 months in the first Trump administration, has said that India needs to set some ground rules with the U.S. for any future back-channel talks. Speaking exclusively to CNBC-TV18, Bolton added that Trump likes to be the center of attention, and that's why India should not take his claims personally.
Well, I wouldn't take it personally in the sense this is Donald Trump at work. This is what he does with friend and adversary alike. He likes to be the center of attention, and one way he can be the center of attention is that he announces that he was the center of the solution. It's not something I think most Americans experienced in national security affairs think is helpful, and indeed I think it can sow misunderstanding. But it wasn't particularly directed against India. He's done it, as I say, to friend and foe alike. So I think in future discussions, it's worth getting the ground rules straight with President Trump at the beginning.
Well, that's John Bolton there. Now, Prime Minister Modi visited Rajasthan today to lay the foundation stone of development projects worth 26,000 crores. Also inaugurated over 100 railway stations. In his public address near Bikaner, the Prime Minister once again hailed Operation Sindoor. He said it was India's response to Pakistan's provocation, and that is the new form of justice, and that there will be no talks with Pakistan unless it is about Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
जो सिंदूर मिटाने निकले थे उन्हें मिट्टी में मिलाया है और तीनों सेनाओं ने मिलकर ऐसा चक्रव्यूह रचा कि पाकिस्तान को घुटने टेकने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया.
Well, we will head to a break, but up next, ONDC's retail order numbers declined by 33% in 6 months from October 2024 to April this year. We'll tell you why, but right after this short break. Well, the big global story, 2 staff members of the Israeli embassy were shot dead near a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C. The 2 victims, a man and a woman, were leaving an event from the museum where the suspect approached a group and opened fire. The suspect, identified as Elias Rodriguez, was detained by the event security team and was heard chanting "Free Palestine" in custody. The FBI has called it an act of violence. And speaking of Israel, forces have killed over 93 Palestinians in the last 24 hours in Gaza. This also includes 38 who've been killed since dawn. Forces have also reportedly fired warning shots towards foreign diplomats visiting the Jenin refugee camp in West Bank. Meanwhile, the United Nations has sent 98 trucks to the enclave, making this the first delivery since early March. This came after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu said he was open to a temporary ceasefire. However, he also said the military would continue its efforts to take full control of the region. Meanwhile, Ukrainian military has claimed that 10 of its drones hit a semiconductor plant in Russia. Officials have said that Russian forces struck a military training site in northeastern Ukraine, killing 6 soldiers and injuring at least 10. The commander of the military unit has been suspended. Meanwhile, Russia has also claimed that more than 370 Ukrainian drones attacked across the border. Around 27 were aimed at Moscow, where airports had to be temporarily shut down. President Trump and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa sparred over the U.S. leader's claims of the genocide of white farmers in South Africa. During a contentious meeting at the Oval Office, Trump cited news articles and showed videos of what he claimed were mass graves for white farmers. Ramaphosa rebuffed Trump's claim, saying that farmers of all races were being killed because of rising criminal activity. Ramaphosa began the conversation by joking that he did not have a plane to offer Trump. This comes a day after the Pentagon confirmed that it accepted a jet from Qatar to be used as Air Force One. Here's that tense exchange at the Oval Office.
Why did a country give an airplane to the United States Air Force? Okay? The United States, not to me, to the United States Air Force.
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. Generally, they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa.
People who do get killed, unfortunately through criminal activity, are not only white people. Majority of them are black people. And we have now been utilizing...
The farmers are not black.
Well, that's Cyril Ramaphosa versus Donald Trump in the White House. The man who designed the iPhone, John Ive, and his company will take over creative and design control at OpenAI. Sam Altman's company acquires Ive's company for $6.5 billion to work on a new generation of hardware devices and other AI products. So this is going to be a space to watch out for. The government's Open Network for Digital Commerce, or ONDC, has seen a slowdown in the number of retail orders, falling from 65 lakh in October 2024 to 43 lakh in April. However, other segments, including its logistics and mobility verticals, continue to grow. Shilpa joins us now with more. Shilpa, take us through what's leading to this slowdown in retail orders on ONDC.
Well, Shireen, what was once touted as a challenger to e-commerce and food delivery giants, the Open Network for Digital Commerce, or the ONDC, is now seeing signs of a slowdown, especially in the retail segment, which is in fact its largest segment. And this includes food delivery, groceries, and your online shopping. Now, retail orders, as you mentioned, peaked at 65 lakhs orders in October 2024, but it dropped to about 43 lakhs in April. And this is according to ONDC's own data. Now, at the same time, other segments on ONDC, like logistics and mobilities, are actually picking up. Now, these are essentially players using the network for third-party logistics services and also cab and auto services. And this is largely led by Ola in logistics and Namayatri in mobility. So what's behind the retail decline? Now, industry players cite that there is poor user experience when you try to order things on via the network, and also weak customer support. Now, buyer and seller apps say that subsidies that once allowed them to offer deep discounts were also slashed from around January, and that made ONDC less attractive for the kind of price-sensitive users that we see. Now, some of the buyer apps have also started charging a platform fee of 1.5 rupees. We also spoke to a few businesses who offer buyer and seller app services for ONDC, who say that while there is a dip in orders now, this is part of a larger calibration that ONDC is doing, as it also begins to focus on financial stability about 2.5 years after it has launched, and that several smaller sellers continue to bet on the promise of ONDC. We also reached out to ONDC, which refutes any slowdown and said that as the network scales, it is evolving its approach towards sustainability, and this includes a phased realignment of incentives and the introduction of a normal infrastructure fee that is on the anvil. So all in all, the sense that we are getting is that yes, there is a slowdown, and a large part of it is because the discounts were scaled back, but many players say that it is still too early to write off the promise of ONDC. Back to you.
All right, Shilpa, many thanks for joining us. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of Business 360. The news will continue right here on CNBC-TV18. Stay tuned. We're back in a moment with more.